19 minutes past 8 o'clock. It's Sadie 9 till 9 with you here on the BBC Essex Breakfast Show. In the studio with me is Essex Police Chief Constable Stephen Kavanagh. Really appreciate your time, Stephen, to come in.
Not at all.
So we've seen, will we see an increased police presence in Essex over the next few days? I mean, is that what it's all about, really?
It is. It's got to be, we've got to be out there and very visible to the public. After Manchester, we had actually extra firearms officers out, but we didn't just tell them to go out on patrol. We asked them to talk to local people, to tell them why they were there. And the feedback we got was, these people are reassuring, they're helping us to feel safe. So yes, we're looking through the election now into the following week to make sure that the maximum number of officers can be out there talking to the public and spotting if there is a problem. Because the scary thing for all of us is we heard those raids are taking place in Barking and Dagenham. Well, actually Barking, Essex. You know, these incidents are not far from our doorstep. So we will need to be vigilant. We do need the public to keep their eyes open, and they need to talk to us. Call the anti-terror hotline, call 999 if they see something that concerns them.
And some of our listeners are sort of saying that, yes, they agree that more needs to be done to stop these things happening, and maybe sensitivities should be put aside in certain instances, in that, as Theresa May said, there's going to have to be embarrassing questions at times and so on and so forth. That if there is a hub, if there is a little area where a few people are saying, hang on, this guy next to me is saying this, that and the other, and they are reporting something, but you look at it and you think, oh, is it sensitive to go into that area? Is it a different culture, whatever? Has that got to be put aside now and all these things investigated?
Sadie, I think that has been put aside. I think, you know, what we've heard is that people do call us now. They do want to work. If somebody is getting withdrawn, if their behaviour has changed, if they're suddenly becoming more radical in their views, it is absolutely right to inform someone. The challenge we hear every day is that MI5 and SO15, my old colleagues in counter-terrorism, they're dealing with thousands of reports. So they have to try and sort the wheat from the chaff. And what we see now is all you need is a carving knife and a vehicle, and you can cause mayhem. You know, the bomb in Manchester will have required some type of technical expertise to put in, but actually what we're now seeing is increasingly knives and vehicles being used, and they are very difficult to disrupt any road, anywhere. But we've got to get on with our lives. We've got to show that resoluteness that this county and this country is so famous for. And there will be more police out there. We will be doing more stop checks. We will have more number plate recognition system going on, because that's what people want. They want to feel reassured, and they want their police right beside them.
And what about arming police? Will there be more armed police, do you think? Is it time to look at arming all the police?
Well, I heard your caller earlier, and sadly, that's right. I have now got 300 tasers that are out in the county. That's something that never happened when I joined the police back in the 80s. And I have increased the number of firearms officers as well. And we've got to constantly monitor and assess, because we don't want to be a militarised force. We want to work in communities, but we need to keep my officers safe. And increasing the number of firearms and tasers have been right. And if the threat continues in the direction it seems to be, then we have to continue to make sure they have the right tools to keep the public safe.
And to keep themselves safe as well, of course, as well. Which brings us on to spit guards, spit hoods, which I know you're talking about today. And so can you describe them? Because what we don't want is, we don't want the police to be alienated from the public. You don't want the police to have to face, oh, well, you put this over this man's head and it hurt him, or it stopped his human rights, whatever. That's what you don't want, because at the moment, you know, everyone's praising the police.
And the British police are great. We know that we work with the public, with the consent of the public. It goes right the way back to Sir Robert Peel. When I first became Chief Constable, the spit hoods, as they were then, with these blue paper sacks with a little window for the eyes, they looked awful. The public would not, no matter what, have really supported them. The reality is now 25 forces across the country. Every force in the eastern region other than Essex now use these new spit guards. And what it looks like is a piece of flesh-coloured mesh. It's like a big baggy pair of tights, if you like, with a small cover over the mouth. And we're not going to use them all the time, you know, but my officers talk to me and they say, look, you know, we deal with pushing and shoving and punching and all of that. But when someone spits at you, that bodily fluid in your face, in your eyes, in your mouth, it is deeply upsetting. It is a health hazard. They end up in hospital. They end up having blood checks. So I've monitored this very carefully, and I've worked with my police federation to make sure that we bring it in. We've talked to community leads. We've talked to the MPs. We've talked to the police and crime commissioner. And we're going to make sure that like when we use our batons, like when we use our handcuffs, we'll record it and make sure that it's a proper use, but it keeps my officers safe because they need to be out there more than ever keeping the county safe.
Do they all have these body cameras now? Because that would help, wouldn't it?
I've got about 2,000 body cameras out. I'm trying to increase the numbers. Policing computer systems and IT need to be upgraded all the time because the volume of footage that we record, we need to both delete it when it's not needed, but we need to have it ready for court. So yes, I'm trying to increase both mobile devices for officers and the body cameras because it gives us much better evidence for court, and the courts love it.
And what about polling? We're all going to be at the polling stations on Thursday, hopefully. We're going to tick whichever box, cross whichever box that we feel will as well look at security for us. I mean, are you confident there'll be enough security around the polling station this week? Do you plan to use armed police at them at all?
Well, what we're doing at the moment, following the awful events of the weekend, we're looking at all of the events going on where people will be gathering, whether that's on the coast, whether that's marketplaces, and that will include the polling station. So there will be increased visibility. We do need people to go out there and use their democratic mandate for whatever purpose they want. As you say, tick whatever box you want. But I think when you see this type of vile challenge on our lifestyle, more than ever, people need to go out there and vote. And we'll try and do our very best to keep them safe.
James is in Harlow. If you don't mind, we're going to take James's call. He's got a question. Morning, James.
Hello.
Morning, James. What did you want to say?
Yeah, I just wondered how, with the Scotland versus England match coming up on Saturday, and apparently there's like over 2,000 people on football banning orders and travel restrictions, and a lot of that comes under the anti-terrorism laws that they use to do that. I wonder why they appear to be able to do that to people that are basically, they're not really a danger to the public, these people, but they don't seem to be able to do that to the thousands of Muslim extremists that they actually have information on. They seem to know about these people.
That's an interesting one, Stephen. I mean, football hooligans who've been, and they're hooligans, aren't they, basically? They're not terrorists, they're hooligans that maybe cause trouble, and you can stop them going to football match. So I suppose the question is, once you know certain other people, but how do you stop them moving around the country? You can't, can you? You can't, I mean...
Well, football banning orders got nothing to do with terrorism legislation, and actually there are thugs out there who go and ruin good football matches. So the football banning orders are really good use of legislation. Policing, and I think you know, Sadie, I used to be the commander for counter-terrorism at Scotland Yard. We used to have something called control orders, and what that would allow us to do is monitor people's internet use. It would allow us to place the people around the country with the support of security services and other agencies to make sure they were properly monitored. Because with all of the thousands of subjects that are out there, MI5, the police, cannot put surveillance on everyone 24 hours a day. We now have these things called TPIMs. They're not as strong in terms of our ability to control terrorists and people who are suspected of being terrorists. But they are what we have, and the policing in this country will do the best with the legislation that we're given. But the difference between someone going to an event and spotting them at an event and them living their lives 24/7 is really different. Thank you so much for joining us, Stephen Kavanagh, Chief Constable here in Essex of the Essex Police. I really thank you for your time. Thank you very much indeed.